The one who states his case first seems right, until the other comes and examines him.
Hi, my name is Bezek. Would you mind if I ask you a few questions?
Sure, go ahead.
Would you mind introducing yourself to the audience and telling us exactly how you came to settle down here in Bethel?
Wow, that's a pretty long story.
Would you care to tell us a little? Are you one of the refugees from the genocide at AI?
Yes, my name is Paebel, and I settled here not long after my family was killed during the infamous Israelite raid. At the time, they were committing raids all over Canaan, and we were unfortunately right in their path.
Were there any warning signs? How did they catch the city off guard?
Actually, there was a prophecy by Keret, the prophet of Baal, son of Dagon. He had warned us that the city's wickedness would eventually result in a great calamity. He said, "What? To me is the multitude of your sacrifices?" says Baal. "I have had enough of burnt offerings of rams and the fat of well-fed beasts. I do not delight in the blood of bulls, or of lambs, or of goats. When you come to appear before me, who has required of you this trampling of my courts? Bring no more vain offerings. Incense is an abomination to me," he said. "Wash yourselves, make yourselves clean. Remove the evil of your deeds from before my eyes. Cease to do evil, learn to do good. Seek justice, correct oppression. Bring justice to the fatherless, plead the widow's cause. Thus says Baal. Because you have not obeyed my words, behold, I will send for foreign marauders, declares Baal, and for Joshua my servant, and I will bring them against this land and its inhabitants, and against all these surrounding nations. I will devote them to destruction, and make them a horror, a hissing, and an everlasting desolation. Moreover, I will banish from them the voice of mirth and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride, the grinding of the millstones and the light of the lamp. This whole land shall become a ruin and a waste. The people of Ai paid very little attention to him, though. My mother would recite the words of Keret, the prophet of Baal, when I was a little boy, and these are the portions I can recall. The people of Ai had, in some households, begun to hold Nahuru and other members of the heavenly hosts in higher regard than Baal. Keret, the prophet of Baal, the son of Dagon, gave us the last warning before the morning of the attack. He had even rent his robe and sat in sackcloth and ashes, but the city was too busy to mind him. He was thought to be a madman, and treated as such before the day of destruction.
Are you suggesting that what happened to AI is a result of them not heeding the words of the prophet of Baal?
Well, yes, that's it. If only they were a little more attentive, perhaps there wouldn't have been the genocide.
Baal bless you. Please, tell me about your father.
My father's name was Pera. He was a tanner. The morning of the raid, he'd noticed what looked like a lot of men approaching our city. He came back and spread the word to others, who began to form an army, more like a large mob. As they left, they began to get the best of the Israelite army, and they began fleeing. Apparently, this was all planned because soon after a bunch of Israelite men emerged from just beyond the ravine and entered our city. I never saw my father again. I can only assume he also was killed trying to defend our city. It was awful. They were beheading children and killing pregnant women. They killed everyone. I was crying and was overcome with fear when I saw one soldier stab both my mother and older brother. A soldier yelled out to another, "I can! We must join the rest of the company!" He was apparently busy grabbing my father's Babylonian tunic. Because I saw him run out of the house to meet the man who had just stabbed my mother, with several tunics over his shoulder and a gold bar in his hand. I had gone outside to fetch water for the day and saw the soldiers stabbing them at a distance. I dropped the jug I was carrying and ran as fast as I could away from the city. After a few days when I came back, having only eaten raw wheat and drinking from a nearby stream, I saw our king's head peeking out of a mound of stones being eaten by vultures. I could smell the decomposition in the air. The Israelites had taken everything. There wasn't anyone left. The city was still burning. I was the only one left, it seemed.
About how large was the city?
Oh, I would imagine there were at least 12,000 of us.
How did you end up traveling to Bethel at that point? It is pretty far away.
Ah, yes. I quickly began seeking someone who could take me on as a slave. I would work and they would allow me to eat what was left after the family had eaten for the day. It was very difficult to find a family prosperous enough to accommodate me. I went many days quite hungry before finding Uzzah. May Baal bless his memory. He took me on as a slave and eventually sold me to a man from Bethel.
Do you have any children?
No. After Baal committed my hometown to destruction, I considered it his mercy that I was still alive. It is my belief that Baal and El would not have desired my line to continue, so I chose to never marry.
I wonder how the Israelites can legitimize their behavior.
Who knows? It seems that everyone has a god who happens to direct them to take things from their neighbors and commit sex crimes these days. You know, it would be great if one day all of the people of Canaan can come together and agree that we will respect each other's property and land. That would really improve life around here. It seems to me that Baal, who owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, can provide us all with enough to keep us from stealing from our neighbors.
Well, thanks for taking the time to answer these questions, and I wish you nothing but the best.
No, thank you. May Baal's great mercy and peace be with you. Please remember to like, subscribe, comment and share, as I hope this channel to be a source of great help and encouragement for people on the same journey I once went through. Thanks again for listening.